Waterfall, the CCW podcast.
Hello and welcome to Waterfall, the water savings podcast brought to you by CCW. That's the Consumer Council for Water. At CCW, we represent the views of all water consumers across England and Wales. So basically, that is everyone, because everyone drinks water. And that's why we are incredibly people-focused here at Waterfall, helping you save water, save money, protect the environment, and combat climate change. My name's Mike Keel, and you'll be joined by the rest of the Waterfall team in just a few minutes. We've got a really special and exciting episode here today because we have done an episode of Waterfall that is entirely live and uncut at the Waterwise annual conference. Waterwise are the UK's leading water efficiency not-for-profit organisation. And each year they run a really big and a really good conference. It's really insightful with loads of great speakers and brilliant ideas knocking around. And somehow, and I'm not quite sure how, we've managed to sneak into this to do an episode of Waterfall Live. So what you're going to hear very, very shortly is our edition of Waterfall Live in front of an online audience of well over 100 people. So this is what we sound like without producer Tom cutting out the ums, the ers, and the stumbles. So stay listening. Now, before we get into that, just want to remind you, we do have an email address so you can get in touch with the show. It's podcast@ccwater.org.uk. We're also on Instagram. You can find us at Waterfall Podcast. So please do get in touch. On today's live episode, we cover lots of really interesting territory and talk about some very interesting topics. Things like how to make it easy to understand your own personal water use. And we consider how we charge for water. Are there ways we can change this that encourages both water efficiency and helps water become more affordable? And we also ask a really big and important question, which is, can water efficiency alone be enough to lift people out of water poverty? So plenty of interesting things there to stay tuned for. So, okay, here we go. This is it. This is Waterfall live and uncut at the Waterwise conference. Brace yourselves and enjoy.
This podcast is brought to you by CCW, the voice for water consumers.
Hello and welcome to Waterfall, the water saving podcast from CCW. It's really great to be here. So I was invited to give a talk at the Waterwise conference in the style of the Waterfall podcast. So I thought it would make more sense if we actually just did an episode of the Waterfall podcast. So that's what you're going to get for the next 15 minutes. So we are trying something new here. So it all may go wrong, but at least you can say you've been part of the very first live edition of Waterfall. Today's topic is water affordability and water savings. It's a big topic and we've not got much time, so tons to cram in. But of course, Waterfall would not be Waterfall without my amazing co-host and the all-round water guru. It's Karen Gibbs. Hello, Karen, and how are you feeling about this?
I'm a little bit nervous to be doing something new, but and a bit worried that we haven't got Tom available to do some clever editing. So, it's all good.
Well, of course, we do have producer Tom lurking out of shot. Hello, Tom. How are you?
Hello, Mike. This is an exciting live edition, and anything can happen live, including searching Waterfall on all your podcast providers and subscribing to us. We're on iTunes, we're on Spotify. That's Waterfall, the water saving podcast. Thank you.
Oh, well, wonderful. I'm feeling slightly terrified. So I hope the audience is going to be kind to us today. But to be fair, all the troublemakers are on mute. And that's the benefit of an entirely online conference, which means the only heckling we're going to get is from producer Tom or cheeky Nathan Richardson, but more from Nathan later.
Yes, I mean, as Steph said, we're very fortunate to have Nathan Richardson from Waterwise with us again today. So looking forward to welcoming him back to the podcast.
So we're going to dive into the topic, which is affordability and water savings. It's a huge issue right now. That doesn't really need to be said with the cost of living crisis really biting. And recent research has shown that 1 in 5 households in England and Wales struggle with water bills, and that equates to an incredible 5 million households.
I mean, given that water bills tend to be the cheapest of the utility bills, that's a really worrying statistic.
So the big question that we have is, is can water saving have a big enough impact on your water bill to help lift people out of water poverty?
I mean, I think the truth is it depends. I mean, if you listen to past editions of Waterfall, I mean, we've explained how a family of 4 can save up to £1,000 if they're just making sort of small changes to the way they use water every day. And it's, it's certainly going to be helpful if people are using less hot water, because they're not only saving on water, they're saving on their energy bills as well. So, it really does show that there's an awful lot that you can do without a huge amount of effort.
I mean, great plug-in there, by the way, Karen, of past editions of Waterfall like this. You're really on message. And we did have a recent episode on carbon emissions. And, it's not really well known in the general public that 15 to 20% of your energy bill is associated with heating hot water in the home. So if you cut down on the time you spend in the shower, you can knock off hundreds of pounds from your energy bill and significantly reduce your carbon footprint. And another great fact from that episode was that there's 10 times more carbon associated with what you do with water in the home compared to the carbon emissions taken in cleaning up water and getting water to your home in the first place. Or put another way, there's 10 times more carbon emissions. Your bit of carbon is 10 times more than the water company's bit of carbon.
Yeah, indeed. And I think, the important thing here is that we want people to understand the relationship they have with water, with energy, and with the natural environment. Mike, where do you want to go from here?
I think one of the things that just wanted that is really important to mention is that in the first series of Waterfall, we asked people about their personal water use, and these are water professionals, and the awareness, even amongst water professionals, in some cases pretty low, which just really shows that awareness is just. It just needs to be raised. And if you're not aware of how much you use, you're not going to be aware of how much you can save. And that is a really important point, because that lack of awareness also puts people off moving to a meter because they don't know how much they use. So they're scared of moving to a meter because they think they're going to be whacked with a massive bill. But actually, in many, many cases, switching to a meter can save a lot of money. And that can help struggling households. So the question I have is, how do we get people to make that link between metering, water efficiency and money saving?
I think the first thing is it's got to be made easy. There's no point if people have to go outside, scrabble around on their hands and knees looking for their water meter, they don't have access to the information that they need to understand not only what they're using, but the potential for what they could save. So I think, as we've seen in other sectors, we either need the information made clear on companies' bills or on their websites, or, as I say, with energy, you've actually been able to see virtually as you use it information.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can pick up this phone, I can go onto an app, and I can tell you exactly how much energy I used yesterday, how much gas, how much electricity, and how much I paid for it. You can't do that with water.
Yeah, and I think, people find it helpful to have that sort of information at their fingertips. So we'd really encourage smarter water meters, but importantly coupled with the clear information and call to action to get people really fully engaged in water saving. And the only way to do that really is to make it very easy for them.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's got to be made easy. And if you're struggling to pay your water bill, you're likely to be struggling with other bills as well. And I can't imagine if you're in that situation, the first thing that goes into your head is, oh, I know, I'm going to go scrambling around in the street to find my meter just to see what my water use is, just in case I've got a lot of potential for savings. That's not what, if you're worried about making ends meet, that's not going to be top of mind. So much more needs to be done to help people raise awareness of what they use and then the potential savings. And it's just got to be easy for people to find that out. And just humour me a second with a sidebar, right? Because, yeah, I know, that's another one. But I think it's a general point here about awareness of water use, not just with affordability in mind. It makes absolutely zero sense in the context that we're faced with now, where we're running out of water, that people don't know how much water they use. It really is nonsensical. So a lot more needs to be done across the piece to raise awareness. And given that communication has never been easier than it has been, right? All the different ways we can communicate, there really is no excuse for not making this simple for people. Sidebar ended.
Well, Well, as I say, I think the message we've got to get out there is that people, are not having to make life-changing sacrifices. It's about simple steps, small adjustments to the way people use water. And I think what's been really good to see is the fact that increasingly water companies, as part of their water efficiency programmes, have not only been providing the information and advice, the hints and the tips, but have also been providing practical help as well. So helping with internal plumbing issues or customer side leakage as well. That combination of advice but practical support has got to be the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, that practical help is so useful. So go back to the original question. Is water saving alone going to do enough to help solve the issue of water affordability? I know you tried to dodge it with your "it depends."
Well, I mean, I think the thing is, using less water if customers are on a meter is bound to help to some extent. But I think we've got to recognise that, there are going to be people that need that extra financial support. And fortunately, there are schemes out there that do provide that support, whether it be reduced charges through social tariffs, or, if a customer's on a meter and in receipt of certain benefits but have unavoidably high use, there's WaterSure, which helps to cap, those bills. So, I think, there does need to be a recognition that water saving helps. It's not the entire answer. And
it is great that support exists in the form of social tariffs, and these are discounted rates for people who struggle with their bill. And every water company has them, but let's be clear, they're not perfect because they vary from company to company in terms of who qualifies for them and how much of a discount people get. So there's clearly plenty of room for improvement with social tariffs. But interestingly, staying with the topic of tariffs and charges more generally, I'm also very interested in how charges are structured with affordability and water efficiency in mind. Because currently, the way we charge seems to be pretty rudimentary and simple by design.
Yeah, pretty much so. I mean, there's only really two bases of charging at the moment, which is you either pay, a fixed rate, which is based on a historic rateable value of the property, or if you're on a meter, you pay in relation to what you use. And certainly, it does seem to me that paying by meter is a much fairer way of charging, one that increasingly people are beginning to accept.
Yeah, I mean, paying for what you use as a concept is just incredibly logical and fair.
Enjoying the show? Please consider leaving a 5-star rating on iTunes and Spotify.
Sticking with tariffs and charges, it does appear to be an area that as you said, there's not been much movement since water privatisation in terms of charging. So it's an area that is ripe for innovation, and I'd like to find out more. So let's find out more for someone with a massive brain. So it feels like the right time to bring on our guest to talk about what more we can do with charges and tariffs to help with affordability and water efficiency. So it's a great pleasure to welcome back to Waterfall. It's Nathan Richardson from Waterwise. Hello, Nathan. Welcome
Hi
back.
there, Mike. Hi there, Karen. It's great to be back as a big fan of the pod. It's great to be invited back for this special live edition.
Nathan, I hope you got something up your sleeve for us, because you did bring up, I think it was my favourite metaphor from series 1, where you compared a leaky loo to having your in-laws staying at your house, which I absolutely loved. So I hope you've got some more of this up your sleeve. But thanks for inviting us round to your house. It's really exciting to be part of this conference and trying a live edition of Waterfall. Let's dive straight in. What more do you think can be done with charges to help with both water efficiency and affordability in mind?
Well, I think we could be a lot smarter. We could be a lot smarter with the way we design our charging tariffs. For example, why don't we reward customers for good water saving behaviours, such as reducing their household water use or getting a leak fixed? And also, why don't we charge customers a much higher rate if they're using a huge amount of water? Quite a few other countries already do this, but but we don't at the moment. So I think there's loads of scope. There's loads of scope there for more.
So you're suggesting a hot tub tax, right?
Well, I think if you're using a lot of water, then we want to encourage people to use less. So having a higher rate of charge for really high users where there's discretionary water use is a really good idea.
Yeah, it makes absolute sense given that the challenges that we face to balance supply and demand into the future. So one of the things I wanted to pick your brains on, Nathan, was I find myself really attracted to a tariff where everyone got their first block of water for free, which would be, say, enough to meet their basic needs. Maybe, I don't know, let's just say 50 litres a day. I know we could argue about that as well. But and then above that 50 litres, the charges kick in, and then charges could rise the more you use. And that would help with both water efficiency, because it sends clear signals there, but it also could help with affordability. And you wouldn't need these things called social tariffs that we were just banging on about. What do you think about that?
Well, personally, I think it's a really good idea. I think it's really interesting. It's something that we need to look at more, because basically what you're saying is there's extra income from the really high users, and we can recycle that in the system to either avoid or minimize costs for that essential bit of water use. So it can definitely help with the affordability. And I think it's something that we need to look at further. It is used in some other countries. So I think South Africa has something very similar to that.
Yeah, I mean, is anybody in the UK actually trialling some of these more innovative tariffs?
There are lots of examples of different tariffs around the world. For example, in New Zealand, which is, fairly rainy country, they have a big excess water use charge. So if you're using a really high level of discretionary water use, you get an additional sort of premium on your bill. And they found it's reduced their water consumption by about 20%.
Wow.
So that's quite significant. That's pretty significant. And I know in Ireland, they're looking at this as well, this sort of excess water use charge. When it comes to the UK, we did loads of trials about 10 or 15 years ago, and there was a government report, the Walker report, into it as well. But that was before we started rolling out smart meters, which are really a game changer. They're a massive enabler for us to get smarter with tariffs as well. And we've also now got a much better handle on the level of water scarcity we face and the level of water affordability challenge that we face. So it's time to pick up this topic again, definitely, I think.
Yeah. I mean, how do you think we can encourage more to be done in this space?
Well, I think the next 5 years or so is really critical. So we've got some massive programs of rolling out smart meters over the next 5 years. So now is the ideal time to be testing some different tariff ideas. And I think the regulator Ofwat agrees. So we need the investment plans the water companies are putting together now to include tariff trials in the next five or 6 years. But I think we also need the regulators to step up and play a big role, because we need them to coordinate these trials across the sector so we can maximize the learning out of them. And then, 5-10 years time, let's roll them out at a much bigger scale.
I mean, that's been really interesting, Nathan. Thanks ever so much for coming back and joining us on Waterfall. It's been great to hear your ideas. We would certainly support, water companies trialling some of these different approaches to charging and be really keen to help, with some of those trials. So, really interesting to hear. So thank you. As you've said, it sounds like there is the potential to address those two key challenges, the affordability dimension, but also encourage, the thing that we've got to encourage, which is the water saving.
Yeah, and I think we can do both. And I think we're clever enough as a sector to get together and actually try these things and see what works, see what doesn't. And as Nathan's saying, share that learning. The time is now. Unfortunately, we're rapidly running out of time for this live edition of Waterfall. It's been really great to have Nathan back on, and we've got big plans for having Waterwise on again very soon. We've covered tons of ground in the last few minutes. And it's clear that water efficiency has an important part to play in making water affordable. And a couple of themes really came out. One was about innovation, scope for innovation and making it easier for people to understand their water use. And there really is no excuse for not making that easy for people to understand. And then the other theme was just what we were just hearing about. There's tons of potential in finding new ways of charging people for water that helps with both affordability and encouraging water efficiency. And I think there's an urgency factor here. We've got to crack on with this because there is a burning platform. We're running out of water, so we just need to focus and pull together on this.
And I think it's fair to say we do obviously recognise that water efficiency will go some way towards helping with affordability. There are always going to be some households that need that additional financial help, and that's why it's going to be really important as we go into these future price review periods that there is that really strong support in place for customers who are struggling with their bills.
Karen's going to get a Waterfall fine for mentioning price review periods. Jargon alerts going off. So, but that is actually a really good point to finish on in terms of there is help out there for people who are struggling because water efficiency is really important and there's additional support too. So that's all we've got time for. If you do like what you've heard, then please check out all the past editions of Waterfall. They're all available online from our website and wherever you get your podcasts from. So please do subscribe and remember to give us a rating, particularly 5-star ones on the iTunes store. So that's it. That's it from me, Mike.
And it's goodbye from me, Karen.
And it's goodbye from him, Nathan.